A new bill introduced in New York would require a criminal background check and waiting periods to buy a 3D printer because the printer could be used to build a gun. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This story is, of course, about New York because it seems like half of my videos are about New York these days, and with good reason. Now, it's already illegal under New York law to build or own an unregistered gun and to have one without a permit, as we famously saw in Dexter Taylor's case, and many others. So New York was already not a friend to people looking to build their own guns, especially using 3D printers, and is one of only 15 states that regulate so-called ghost guns. They've been behind lawsuits that have put companies like Polymer 80 out of business, and were behind lawsuits that attacked indie guns. So this new attack on 3D printers themselves isn't all that surprising, and honestly, since good old Luigi Mangione hit the news and was found with a firearm built with a 3D printer and Glock slide with a printed suppressor, I have been waiting for this kind of bill to come up. Now, a similar bill was actually introduced back in 2023 and nothing came of it, but with this new case that is so big, background checks for printers is back on the table, and of course Luigi is mentioned by name even in the write-ups as proof that this bill is so necessary, even though it's highly unlikely his weapon was built in the 10 days he stayed at some random New York City hostel, and building firearms is an American tradition. Really, what it comes down to is just an excuse. Even Popular Science is talking about it now and points out the obvious, that because banning guns hasn't worked, now lawmakers are going after the printers themselves, which is the perfect argument against gun control, but for some reason, people on that side of the argument don't seem to see it. But before I show you the bill, this video is brought to you by Blackout Coffee Company. Blackout is a Florida-based coffee roaster with deep roots in supporting the Second Amendment, soldiers overseas, and channels like mine. They even have dedicated partner roasts where the proceeds go to some of your favorite gun rights groups directly, like FPC and GOA. So to help support the channel, your rights, and get a great cup of coffee, tea, or hot chocolate that you can be proud of, go to blackoutcoffee.com/libertydoll, and you can use code LibertyDoll for a one-time 20% discount. Assembly Bill A2228 was introduced back on January 15th and is just over a page long. It would require a full FBI criminal background check with fingerprints in order to buy any 3D printer that may be capable of printing a firearm or any component of a firearm. And the FBI would have 2 weeks to do this check, which is effectively a 2-week waiting period. But even more sinister, if you check out the last page of the bill, it defines a 3D printer as not just the printer itself, but also a computer. Hopefully that little tidbit will be the thing that shoots this bill in the foot, though bills can always be amended. Now, keep in mind that plans for 3D printed guns are technically protected under the First Amendment. This has been established in court, and I will admit to you, despite having reported on 3D printers and the guns made with them a few times on this channel, I have never done the process. I don't own one. I don't own one of these printers, so I don't know the nuts and bolts of how it works. But I assume that when we extend the definition to, quote, computer, and also any printer capable of printing any component, that would probably extend to most, if not all, 3D printers. If I'm wrong here, please feel free to correct me down in the comments, because that side of things isn't my wheelhouse. But Popular Science, which I guess take with a grain of salt here because they're not exactly firearms experts, but they acknowledge that this would include even most of the common printers at schools and libraries, and since their write-up seems favorable to this law, I'm inclined to believe them on this one. Now, the New York government website for this bill does have a public comment section, and if you live in New York, I would encourage you to check it out. I will make sure to link it down in the description. As of right now, I have not seen a single comment on the bill that is in favor of the bill. Most of the comments point out the obvious flaws in it, from felons still being able to get a printer off of Facebook Marketplace, for example, to the fact that 3D printers are used for so many other things that it would be akin to requiring background checks for pipes or screwdrivers at the hardware store. Others, who I'm guessing fall on the left side of the spectrum, talk about the burdens this bill would put on libraries and schools and underserved communities. Three-dimensional printers have a wide range of legitimate non-firearm related applications such as education, healthcare, manufacturing, and creative industries, wrote one commenter, while another one wrote, treating these tools as inherently dangerous misrepresents their purpose and discourages innovation and accessibility, particularly for small businesses and underserved communities. And if they did pass this bill, well, then how long before all 3D printers in the state have to be registered? Something like that for New York isn't really all that far-fetched, especially if they are saying that 3D printers are basically akin to already having a firearm and are treating it as such with the background checks. I already did a video last year about how software companies are working on software for popular 3D printers that would shut it down and snitch on you if you print out a gun or any parts of one. So registering the printers themselves doesn't seem like that much of a stretch for New York, especially when we have bills like the New York SAFE Act in place. And because it doesn't work, they're trying to stack even more of them on. So again, if you live in New York, I will be sure to drop the link down in the description so you can read the bill for yourself and drop a comment for them. With the amount of negativity that this bill is getting in the comments, I'm inclined to say that it will not pass. But that being said, is that because the bill hasn't gotten a lot of face time in the media yet, and the face time it has gotten has been on Second Amendment news websites, or not? That is a really good question. I mean, if our sample size for the comments is only the people in the gun community, well then of course their comments on the bill are going to be negative. And all that being said, if it did pass, well, crazier things have happened in that state. And I am sure with Eric Adams trying to distract from his own corruption charges and everything going on with him, I'm sure that he's going to be stumping for this bill for sure, because anything to take the attention off of himself, and we do have that huge case going on that's going to be heating things up. Nonetheless, I would hope, because of the huge scope of this bill and the huge amount of oversight, that it won't get much traction. If anything changes on that front, I will let you guys know. As always, you guys know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, ladies and gentlemen, and happy shooting.